Hello, fellow investors. Bonsoir, les investisseurs. Welcome to Wine and Real Estate.
Yes, hello everybody.
So tonight we're going to have some special guests coming on in a few minutes. In the meantime, we're going to open up our bottle of wine.
I'm excited about this. It's a wine from Croatia.
Croatia.
Sorry, I'm saying that in Franglais. It's
Croatia.
Plavac Madi. I don't know if you guys can see the bottle very well. Anyway, we've never had a wine from Croatia before, so we wanted to try that and
give it a sip and see if it's worthy of Wine and Real Estate. And our guests are coming on as well. They're going to have maybe some wine recommendations. And in the next few weeks, I'm excited. We have a guest who does not drink wine. She's going to talk about smoothies. So we tried
kind of boring.
No, it's kind of fun. I thought at first she's like, I don't drink wine.
Making a joke.
That's okay. So yeah, if you don't drink wine, you're not welcome. No, just kidding.
Well, it's not smoothies in real estate. It's wine in real estate.
And show people our nice bottle opener.
Yes, it's very exciting. Ooh.
No, but it's really cool because it's very easy to use. So yeah, like this one actually has a cork, and that was a very inexpensive bottle. Is it a 2019?
No, it's a 2018.
2018, yeah, for like $13. So we're gonna have to aerate it to make sure it breathes and there's more room to it, and the wine tastes better. And sometimes if the wine's really bad, then you have some cheese with it.
Yeah, we should have to talk a bit about corks.
Yes.
So corks actually do modify somewhat the taste, and I love smelling the cork.
Do you guys smell the cork? That's a nice one.
Yeah,
it's a rare privilege now because a lot of wines have like cork that are like plastic or like rubber or twist cap. I know it's convenient, but smelling the cork.
Different.
Oh yeah, it's a neat color.
Yeah, so this color it's a light color. I don't know if you can tell really, but you can see through it. Some of them are much more like a dark and opaque.
Yeah, like is that what they call a ruby?
Oh, I think so. But don't quote me on it. We'll have to ask Darren.
Yeah, we need to get a sommelier on next time. So
good.
I see Fornelli Properties, you guys are on, so you have to ask to join the live. Hopefully it's from a phone. You can't from a computer, so if not, take a second and switch to your phone. We don't mind, we're going to enjoy a sip.
Yes, we're going to enjoy a sip.
Salud, but I need to swirl it a bit.
Swirl it. It smells good.
You can buy these aerators as well. We used to have some, but we didn't find they weren't that great. So
there we go.
There you go. Our guest, very excited. Yeah, so it's good.
Yeah, it's kind of
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Victoria and Darren.
Good. How are you?
Good.
Let me adjust the phone a tiny bit just so we're not cut off.
Yeah, no problem.
You just need a mouth. It's kind of cool. It's like this. Hello. It's hard to know where the camera's gonna kind of hit.
Yeah.
You, so
I tested it and then it wasn't what I expected.
no. Thank you so much for coming on to Wine and Real Estate, and we're
Thanks
really
for having
excited to meet you. We've seen pictures. We've exchanged messages over the past few months. You also joined Investor Mel and Dave, the mentoring program, and now we're having some wine together.
Yes.
So
are you guys drinking some wine tonight?
We are.
We did.
Oh, great, chin chin.
Salud.
Salud. So what are you guys drinking tonight?
Currently, it's just an apothic red. We're not really connoisseurs by any means.
It's a good wine. We love that one.
Yes, I love the dark.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've tried it, but it's very full-bodied, the dark apothic red.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is just a winemaker's blend. Oh. We also bought what was it?
Baco.
Sandbanks. I was trying to buy a Canadian or Ontario wine, so I bought a Sandbanks one.
Nice.
But Victoria liked this one, so I got it as well.
Oh, we've actually been to the vineyard a few times. It's nice.
Yeah, Sandbanks Winery. It's beautiful near Lake Ontario in Prince Edward County. So
yeah.
We didn't give you a chance yet. So introduce yourselves. Tell everybody a little bit about yourselves, who you are, and your investing journey.
Yes.
Sure. You start because you started investing before me.
Yeah, my journey started back in 2004.
Oh, Oh,
Oh, wow.
You're seasoned.
Yeah, it was me and a friend that I worked with, and we were probably sitting, well, we were sitting in a bar downtown after a long work day. And we talked about buying bars and owning bars and
Cool.
how we'd like to do that one day. And then one of us got the silly idea of buying a property. At the time, it seemed crazy. And next thing we knew, we owned a fiveplex out in Brantford.
Oh my.
Wow.
And that's
So
in the
that's
hot market now, Brantford. I know it used to be kind of depressed, and now it's really good. So
Yeah, and we sort of managed to pick up the worst house in the worst
Oh,
area,
no.
the worst tenants.
I think it was intentional, partly.
Yeah,
Beginner's luck.
Yeah, but that's good.
Yeah.
You had lots of lift.
that's it. We have over the years for sure. And so that's where it initially started. And then I ended up buying out my partner. He went a different direction in life and bought him out. I think it was around 2006, so shortly after we bought it.
Okay.
And then I spent years working out there on the weekends, slowly upgrading units, putting in new kitchens, replacing anything and everything.
Wow,
Nice.
that's great.
Yeah. And then it was probably, 2007 or so?
Me and you,
Yeah.
2015. Quite a few years later, but we started working together, and then he would always tell me his landlord stories that I would find super entertaining, and I'd always just liked real estate and houses to begin with.
Mm.
So he convinced me pretty easily to buy a property with him.
Good.
Yeah, so we bought a duplex in Brantford that we knew was going to need a ton of work.
Mm.
And we did the work on that property. And while we were doing that renovation, we actually ended up buying 2 fourplexes
Wow.
Wow, that's
with
great.
the money he was able to get from refinancing the fiveplex. So we did the lift, did the refi, and then bought more properties.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, so we've been doing the burr. I kind of say we haven't finished the burr in a lot of our cases. Like we haven't done the refi on most of our properties.
But
And it
it's
wasn't
there.
it wasn't until we joined Mel and Dave that I was like, okay, we need to do this. We need to
Yeah.
access equity. Now we have so much because we sat on them for a little while. And now we're like trying to buy as many as we can.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and so many opportunities right now
Mhm.
during COVID. I know it seems counterintuitive, even though the market's red hot, but there's all kinds of things coming up, and the lenders are very pro borrowing right now, so it's very good for us.
Yeah, might as well take advantage of it.
Yeah,
For sure.
that's
Yeah.
That's great. So how have
Yeah,
you guys been members of the Mel and Dave mentoring program?
We joined in June of last year.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
great.
awesome.
Yes. So, you said you guys aren't really big wine drinkers. Do you usually drink beer or?
My choice would be beer, but in general, I don't drink a ton.
Yeah, good. That's a good habit.
Yeah, we'll socially drink.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, the open bottle of wine or beer will go bad in the fridge over a year. Like
Oh,
it's,
yes.
Oh man, wow.
So
it's
what
not
are you
something
doing
we
in the
need
bar?
to do.
Yeah.
I think it's just there's always something to do. We're always busy, and I find opening up a bottle or having a beer, it just sort of distracts you for the night, and so we just never get around to it. So
That's
so
one
true.
That's one thing I admire about you guys. You do a lot of the work yourselves, which is really good.
Yeah,
Like that
it
sweat
just seems so
equity.
handy.
well, I think the big thing is every contractor we seem to hire, we seem to fire. So
Yeah.
it's very hard to find good help. And with the Marlborough project, the duplex we worked on, Victoria was able to go through and see everything from laying the bricks of the foundation, because we literally tore it down.
Wow.
And
Wow.
he's done every task that we are legally allowed to do. So there was the drywalling, the insulation, the framing, the exterior siding, the roofing.
Installed
Electrical.
windows, everything.
Yeah.
So basically, everything except the electricity.
Yeah. And the goal was with that project to learn what
Yeah.
we liked doing and what we really didn't like doing and would want to hire out going forward, and to know what went into it so that
Yes.
we could justify, oh, they're going to it's going to cost, X amount, that actually makes sense for the hell that we went through, or
Yeah, there's a lot of tasks that she'll never want to do again.
Yeah.
Sure.
So-
Yes.
And how long things take as well. So sometimes it's weird. You're like, oh, this is taking forever. But now you've done it, so you understand it does take forever. This is very hard. Or you can't mess up with this thing. Like, it's got to be very precise or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it just helps you judge whether you're getting a good quote or whether you're paying for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people get quotes and they're like, hey, that's what it costs. Okay. And then they'll way overpay or get screwed over by contractors. Not that there's not good ones out there, but it's a tough thing to get these days.
There's some great people. It's just right now, especially with COVID, there's so much renovating happening.
It's crazy.
The pressure is on, and some of them are not business people. So we've had some great contractors. They're not businessmen. Like, they're good at their craft, but they don't know how to manage a business, and that's where it kind of falls apart. So.
And when you do have a great contractor like we do, I think you just have to treat them very well.
Yeah, you pay them quickly,
Yeah.
give them good jobs, keep them busy, buy properties so you can keep them busy and keep them working for you. So
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's such a good point that you guys made is like, we've always done that as well. Like, in the beginning, we always did as much as we could by ourselves, because I think it's a great way to learn and to grow your business as well, because you do, like you said, know what it's worth to get whatever
tile
the job
work
done.
or yeah. We've never gone as far as like foundations and framework.
Yeah, no, that's not us.
I don't want to do it again.
You guys are great.
She spent days cleaning off old brick, manually scraping off the old mortar, prepping it to go. So she'll never touch another brick, probably.
No.
But at the same time, some of these tasks, they're fulfilling. Like, I love doing them. It's unfortunate that it takes so long for a lot of the projects, but it's fulfilling compared to your desk job.
Oh,
Sometimes.
yeah, the physical labor, like, that's why people are so like disconnected. Everything is so virtual. Now you're actually touching things, and it's a bit of like grounding. Yeah, I used to do some landscaping years ago, and I love like digging in the soil and touching the plants with my bare hands, like even the soil and digging. And Jennifer hates it. And I get black nails and
Yeah. No, as soon as I see a bug, I'm done.
stuff.
I like.
So you don't do much crawling under the apartments.
Sorry?
I was just saying, you don't do much crawling under your units then, in the basements or crawl spaces.
No. We send our realtors down there normally.
Yeah.
Go down there and show us a video.
Yeah, send me a video and I'm satisfied. I don't need to go.
Fair
Was
enough.
the Fiveplex your favorite project that you did?
No, the Fiveplex was just almost out of necessity because it was so old. I think the house was built in the 1800s, late 1800s, and
Wow.
it had like a maid's quarter in the back, so you could see the progression of how they built out the house. There was horsehair used in some of the plaster in the walls.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
That is old.
Very old, yeah. It was actually terrifying, I think, when I first saw the horsehair. We thought it was human hair. We didn't know any better. I'd never seen it.
Well, from the 1800s, it would have been what they called anti-macassar. So they kept the hair from dead people and created these wreaths.
Yeah,
and
they used to
different
make
things.
wreaths with the hair of dead people. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's a whole other.
Conversation.
That's a whole different type of podcast, yeah.
Yes.
So that was definitely an interesting and a long project because we completely gutted bathrooms, upgraded all the electrical. I think the funnest one, though, was the duplex because we literally took a 1.5 story and brought it to that foundation. And having rebuilt a lot of the foundation and taking it all back up, it was just, even though it took a long time, it was nice to see the progression and every week it getting bigger and better. And
Cool.
that was probably
Wow. That's
the best
fascinating.
experience.
For me, I enjoyed the design process more than the actual manual labor. Like,
Okay.
I hadn't designed an interior ever. So I was designing kitchens, I was picking finishes, and I was trying to get a deal. So I was like constantly looking at flyers, and I actually liked doing that part of it.
Okay.
Um,
That's fun.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, because as a typical male, I could care less what color, what tile.
So that worked out well because I always basically I'll run it past him, but I'm the final decision maker. I'm like, this is what we're going with.
That's good.
That's good. At least you feel like you're part of it a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. It's good that you guys see where you add value and what you guys bring to the table. Each of you have your own thing. Like if you're both doing the same thing, then
That's hard.
it
Yeah.
wouldn't be as good a partnership because you bring both two things different.
For
Yeah.
sure. We definitely have different opinions about things too. We look at things differently, which can be very challenging at times, but it's a good thing at the same time, right?
Yes,
True.
absolutely.
Yeah, it is like us as well. Sometimes it's, yeah, Jennifer's like, this is a great property. I'm like, no, I hate it. And here's why. And then you have to justify it. Or the opposite, I like it. This is such a great idea. She's like, are you crazy? This is insane.
Yeah.
It's mostly that. Are you
Yeah.
crazy? Are you insane? No.
Do you find that your choices have evolved, like what you like and don't like?
Yes.
Yeah,
It comes to
I think that.
Yeah, at first we were looking at different things like smaller properties. Now we're getting like kind of scaling up, looking at more value added. At first we were a bit more scared, so we bought very like turnkey. It needed some very cosmetic renovations, or yeah, very easy, something that's already tenanted. Huge mistake. You want vacant possession now.
Well, in Ontario.
Yeah, in Ontario. So it depends on the market, but in Ontario, yeah, you want ideally vacant possession. That's my opinion anyway.
Well, it makes it
Yeah.
easier.
I've never come across that opportunity for the vacant possession.
Oh no.
Yeah, well, it doesn't happen very often anymore, just because I think it's hard for like a seller to offer the vacant possession
Yeah.
now, because you can't just get your tenants because you're selling it. It doesn't work that way.
But some
Yeah.
people in smaller markets, they've actually owned the property many, many years, and then they just sat on it and let one tenant leave, don't replace it. Let the other tenant leave, they don't replace that, and then they put it up for sale. So it happens with like owners that are seniors. And
Yeah, we got one vacant possession which
Two.
was really nice. Oh yes, that's right.
yeah,
That's right.
Boyer and then St. Felix.
Yeah, that's right.
And how many units were in those?
So
They were both duplexes.
yeah, so it's
Mhm.
not that big.
Yeah, but it was nice to have vacant possession because you could choose your tenants and
For
choose
sure.
your rent.
Yeah.
I think the best we've gotten is one unit empty on two places.
Mhm.
And then the duplex that we tore down, we actually moved the one tenant that was staying behind. I gave him a place in my original property.
Oh, cool.
So he willingly moved and didn't know about the clause that lets you move back at the same price. And,
Did he move back?
you know, what's that?
Did he move back?
No, because he didn't sign the forms and didn't present it. And I don't think we even thought of it at the time, and more probably realized after the fact that he could have presented us with a form.
But if you have a
so
good
we-
relationship, I mean, he's already moved, changed the address, and if it's a nice place, like 95% of people don't want to come back. But yeah,
For
there's
sure.
always that risk.
Yeah, that's true.
We definitely gave him a nicer place. He paid for it, but it was an upgrade compared to the
What he was in, yeah.
crap he was in. Yeah, it was a bad place.
So it was an upgrade, so that's good.
Yeah, positive move.
Yeah.
Are you guys only focusing on Bradford? Is that like your main?
Niche market or cool.
Right now, yeah, that's where all of our properties are. We've flirted with the idea of moving into other markets, but I feel like there's still more that we can get from Brantford, and I don't know.
I think that you're the first couple that we've met that are investing in Brantford.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
Sarah
Yeah.
Levy, she has properties in Brantford, but not like she's not a couple. So
No, I mean, well, I didn't talk to Sarah, but I haven't
Yeah.
heard a lot of people like it. What's it like, that Bradford market, for people that are listening?
Horrible. Don't
don't
No
go there.
recommend whatsoever. No. So it's not what it was in the sense that, 2004-5, you were picking up 5 plexes for just over 200,000.
I think that's over. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Way over. I mean, we were looking at 4 plexes this week, and they're starting at 980.
A purpose.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It used to be
So
really cheap when we lived in Hamilton. I remember we're like Brantford is like a small
Yeah,
town.
we're like, ooh,
Yeah.
Brantford.
I'm from Hamilton, and I also used to, Brantford was like, ugh.
Yeah.
and that's how it was for many years. Lots of drugs, lots of unemployment, lots of disability. I think they sort of catered to disability to a certain extent.
Oh, really?
Now, I think the other markets have grown so much and it's become so expensive to buy in Toronto, Hamilton, and the surrounding areas that people have sort of moved out there and the market's on fire. So now we're sort of overpaying for everything comparable to what it was before.
Yeah. And from like a rent perspective, I'd say the rents have probably doubled in the last 5 years, maybe.
Wow.
Okay, wow.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, we have units that are $500 because they're in the older places that we bought a while back, and now they could easily rent for $1,000 plus.
Easily, yeah.
It's,
Nice.
really?
So you've got that
It's crazy.
potential. I know that laws right now are a tougher situation, but it will happen. So that's nice to know you have that kind of built-in lift for the future.
yeah. And it's funny though, because back then we'd say, okay, well, we want tenants that aren't going to turn over all the time. So you were
Yeah.
happy if someone stuck around.
Now you
And
want
now-
them 2 years, you're gone, please.
Yeah, which is crazy. Just how the mentality has changed so much. You know, we talk about
It's basically
People talk
because in Ontario you can't raise rents enough to correspond with the market. So that's
The
why.
rise in price. And,
Mhm.
yeah.
yeah, the $20 a year increase just doesn't cut it.
No.
No,
Can't do that.
no, and it's bad. I always say it's actually bad for the tenants too. So some good landlords are now stuck with all these tenants that you can't increase their rent. And then things start falling apart. You have no reserve fund eventually. And then you become a slumlord, not by choice, because you've been forced down that rabbit hole. I mean, you can only support the building for so long, especially larger places.
Mhm.
And if you don't keep it upgrading and increasing rent, then you can't afford to keep the place nice.
And then imagine the rude awakening they get when they have to move out to another place and they'll never find that rent again.
yeah, because it's good.
Yeah.
Like the rent increase, like slowly, they get used to it, and then they look for better jobs or something. Otherwise, yeah, they're stuck. in this-
Incentive.
Yeah, it's bad for society in general. But
Mhm.
anyway,
That's his little rant.
yeah.
I totally understand.
So, is your strategy BRRRR? Is that what you kind of hope to do, or buy and hold? What?
Yeah, buy and hold. So we do look for properties that have low rents or need improvements, and we put the work in, and then yeah, refinance and buy more.
Okay.
But the intent is to hold them. Like, I don't want to sell anything that we have if we don't have to.
Because that's where the real wealth is long-term holding the properties. So yeah, cash flow is good, refinancing, but holding on to the properties, that's where it's crazy. My parents always told me about their house they bought in Scarborough for $69,000. It's probably worth like 1.3 million now, and just holding on to it, but that would have been 45 years. But still, that's a lot of money
Mm-hmm.
doing nothing on a cheap house. So
Yes, it's a shame they didn't keep it.
I know, I wish they could have kept it. It was fully paid off. They were back
Oh,
then
wow.
were renting all the rooms, the driveway, the garage, everything was rented.
Mhm.
So anyway,
So, what are you guys working on now? What are your projects right now?
We both wasn't going. Oh,
Well, we had picked up a fourplex in December. I think it was
Great.
December.
Yeah, December.
With one vacant unit, so we got the opportunity to throw some lipstick on it and clean up the bathroom and the kitchen a little bit, fix up the cupboards, upgrade the security system. And then that's on the market for rent now, and now we have something new.
We put an offer in this morning
oh,
on a
cool.
try, and we found out it was accepted. So
Oh wow, congrats.
Yes, congratulations.
so that's the next
Let's have a drink for that.
Oh yeah, sure.
Exciting. So you said it's a 5-plex that you put an offer on?
A triplex. So
A triplex,
three.
sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
So our pattern has slowly changed. Like before, it was all retrofitted houses, and then the fourplex in December was a purpose built.
Okay.
And it pushed us. I'd say it pushed us a little bit out of our comfort zone just because now you're getting closer to the 800,000s and the price
Yeah.
points up there compared to what we were paying before in Brantford. And then now with the triplex, there's not as much lift in these properties. They've been upgraded, and so I'm finding it harder to pick and choose what to buy
Yeah.
and where the
Add the
opportunity.
value to, yeah.
Yeah, so when we first looked at the triplex, I was like, no, there's no lift in it. It's got a nice kitchen, it's got okay walls and ceilings, the outside looks okay. What's the point? But once you start sort of looking at the numbers, or you actually do a tour of the place, then you can sort of visualize those upgrades, and it's not the same money makers, I think, right out of the gate, because it's got lower rents and you have to assume those tenants. There was no vacancies on that one. But the long-term play, or the slightly longer-term play, I guess, not immediate, but a year or two out, if tenants leave,
There's huge opportunity.
game changer. The rents are shooting up. A little more lipstick on the 2 units, and then 1 unit can use a new kitchen and some more fancier stuff, and maybe a potential extra unit in the full basement. Who knows? So I find our pattern is slowly changing, but the BRRRR is the intent. It's just now.
Might take a few years instead of a few months. So, 2
Right.
3
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Not a
Not bad.
Market appreciation is crazy right now.
Oh,
so
man.
You never know.
We bought a place in August, and what did we do? We put in some new floors and a little bit of paint, half a kitchen, just the lower cabinets, not the uppers. And I think it's gone up 125,000 in
Wow.
like
Amazing, eh?
7 months, 6 months. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. But who knows how long we're going to have that market appreciation, though.
Yeah, that's it.
So do you guys cash flow in Brantford? Like, are you able to buy cash flowing properties at these prices?
Everything's been fantastically cash flowing, with the exception of today's purchase.
Okay.
But at some point, you're like, okay, you're making all this money on your cash flowing properties. The tax man comes around, laughs at you, and collects.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, well, what if we put something aside that maybe we don't have to work on right away or this year, and it'll be a project for next year, and at the same time maybe hide some of those profits and just.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's very smart. Yeah, you want some losses. Like, if you're able to balance it out, it is good. Yeah, for sure. Especially you buy under a corporation, or you have multiple corporations, or.
This will be our first under a corporation. So the first 5 are privately owned. This will be our 6th, and everybody's sort of advised to do the corporation.
Yeah, sometimes, like, let's say you don't buy in your corporation's name. I'm not a lawyer or accountant, but so those listening, do your due diligence. But you can do a joint venture with your own corporation. So if you want to keep buying under your name and it's not commercial, then sometimes you do. That's what we've done.
Yeah,
and
we
what's
should do a
nice.
trust agreement with our corporation.
Yeah, and then you can switch back and forth, so you can flip the property under your corporation without paying land transfer tax, because really you're the owner. You've just been contracted by your own corporation to buy the place. So what a shame. And the money flows into your corporation. So anyway.
I've never heard of that.
Way to do it.
Yes, because finance sometimes is easier. It depends on the deal, but
But you're still essentially signing for everything. You're responsible for all the loans in the corporation, just as if the corporation had bought it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. We'll have to quickly look into that.
Yeah.
Because what's nice is then you can go, let's say you buy with a lender, like a bank of some sort, under your own name. You get a loan that's easier to break. And then you do the BRRRR like you want to do. Then you refinance with a credit union, and then you put it in your corporation's name. And then there's no land transfer tax, and then it's taken off of your credit. And then you just recycle your credit.
So it's almost as if your partner's just walking away and leaving you the property.
Yeah.
So you're taking them off the deed, and
that's paying it on the corporation.
Exactly. So
that's
nice.
a way to do it.
A lot of fun.
Oh my goodness. Also could talk about those things all day.
Yes. That's what I do now.
You almost have to, because there's so many different ways of doing things, and we always say we learn by our mistakes, and
Yeah.
if we
Oh,
had
yes.
more of these conversations. Yeah.
So what's your best real estate tip or story? That was a pretty good one about restarting the whole duplex, but
Yeah.
That's our biggest. That was a 3-year project every weekend.
Wow.
Because we work regular 9 to 5
Both
jobs.
for full time?
Oh my. Okay. Oh my goodness.
So all our renovations start at 6 a.m. on Saturday and last till we get home at 11 o'clock on Sundays.
Very
Oh,
romantic.
boy.
Yeah.
And you don't drink wine. I'd have a funnel with me in a little hat.
Yeah, but then the things wouldn't be very straight anymore.
It'd be very artistic,
That's
on
true.
the Faux style, like with little squiggles and.
You do that without
So
wine.
we've had lots of bad tenant stories, I think, over the years.
Do you want
You
to
know,
pick
I've
the
used-
worst?
I think one of my worst was using a snow shovel to shovel out all the needles. They were diabetic needles, mind you, but
Oh.
the floor was covered in garbage, needles everywhere, and we just had to use snow shovels.
This was on the fiveplex when you
This-
first bought it, right?
The 5-plex, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, we got one.
Oh.
That's terrible.
Oh,
We had one much worse.
When you can
Oh.
shovel the garbage out, that's quite bad. But anyway,
But you just said he had much worse.
much worse. Okay.
I don't know how I forgot about it, but
I don't know how I forgot about it. In one of our
Traumatization.
yes, that is true. Repressed.
Yeah.
In one of the fourplexes last January, we got images from our property manager from a tenant that we've been trying to evict because he wouldn't pay for months. He would eventually catch up, but it was this repetitive pattern. And he wouldn't let our property manager in. There was conflicts. So when he finally got in the property, he shared us photos and the guy was hoarding.
Oh no.
Wow.
So it was
But-
up to the ceiling in every single room. Their walls were covered in little bugs and
Did
it
he
was
keep everything, including his garbage, or?
well, he
Yeah.
wasn't hoarding stuff. He was hoarding strictly garbage.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's the worst. Yeah, because some people, I mean, it's not clean or great, but it's collectibles and clothing and stuff like that. But yeah, some people keep garbage, and some keep their own like feces and things as well. So I hope it didn't go that far.
There was bottles. There was a chicken in the kitchen in a pot.
a raw chicken.
That
Months
smells
ago.
really bad.
Oh man.
I don't think any of the drains actually drained except the toilet,
Which was black.
which was disgusting.
Sink was piled up in hair, overflowing with hair and other stuff.
Oh,
All
man,
the
I love
walls
those stories. I'm sorry.
All the walls were covered in mold, like a spotted, almost like a fly crap, I think it was.
Yeah.
Oh,
Everywhere. The property manager ended up taking out 3, I think it was 20-yard bins worth of garbage out of this one unit.
and
Oh, my
how
goodness.
unhealthy is that for the person living in there? Like, don't they have like lung infections and stuff? I mean, it's just thinking about it. Oh.
Yeah.
That's
Gross.
horrible. But think about how you cleaned it up, and now I'm sure it's nice and rented out like a beautiful
It's
apartment.
much nicer. We almost doubled the rent after we finished everything. So it was worth
paid
it.
off.
And I laugh about it in the end, but it was pretty gross.
But when you're picking it up, it's not great.
No.
Wow.
No.
But I think we're getting immune to it also.
Mm.
It's just sort of like,
You see
it's
past it.
Yeah. You see the opportunity somehow
That's
through
it.
that. Yeah.
That's how you have to see it, because that others won't do it. They're gonna scare away from that and just sell the place. If you stick with it and keep going, that's where the gold is. So.
Yeah, well, those
Yeah.
that are really passionate about real estate investing, I think that we kind of just get thick skin and you just roll up your sleeves and like, okay, picking up crap again.
Yeah. think about how much you were paid to pick up. Well, you paid someone to do most of it, but how much you're being paid per hour to pick up someone's garbage. So sometimes I'm like, yeah, it's $1,000 an hour, so it's not so bad. Throw your cat litter over here, that's fine.
No, not that far.
there was lots of cat litter though. There was a peeing cat
Oh, yeah.
in the kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah.
They always have pets. I mean, and even for the pets, that's animal cruelty too. Like living
Yeah.
with that bad.
I've had Yeah, I've had floors where you step on the floor and the dog pee squirts out the sides.
Ah,
These are all inherited tenants. So I'll just
Yeah.
say that they're
Wow.
not tenants in place.
Wow,
No.
that's terrible. So how did you finally get rid of the hoarder? Was it just through eviction notices?
The sheriff finally went to
Okay.
that point. Yeah.
But he wasn't paying. So if you're not paying and it's recurring and it's a pattern,
Yeah.
it's your best eviction
Yeah.
notice. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Going through one, we have one that's been 14 months now, and it's because of COVID, it's been on hold extremely long, so it gets delayed and delayed and delayed. But once
so you have an active tenant that's 14 months and unpaid?
no,
No.
they pay. That's the problem. They
They're,
pay,
Oh.
they're
but
just trashing the place.
yeah,
Oh,
Just an excuse to upgrade.
Yes.
that's it. That's it. And then there's a walkout basement. We can turn it into a triplex. So
oh,
a
amazing.
nice opportunity at some point.
Yeah.
For
Eventually.
sure.
So what are you guys planning on for 2021?
2021. I keep saying I just want to buy as many properties as I can right now because we're going through all the refis. We'll be able to do that. That's what I want to do.
Cool.
Well, you might
I don't
as well
know.
strike the iron while it's hot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
are
it's
you
just too
always
it's so
finance, are you always refinancing properties and buying, or are you using OPM, or
So far,
you hit the wall?
yeah, so far it's been refinancing.
Well,
You
you
haven't-
OPM.
That's actually true. We joke. So before we joined Mel and Dave, I didn't really know anything about OPM. And then we joined and I learned all about it. And then I realized that I actually did use OPM for the 2 fourplexes because I used his money for the
Oh,
down payment.
That's something some people don't realize. Yeah, you can borrow from your spouse, and even within, like, if you have a corporation, there's different things you can do. Your spouse can lend to the corporation, and there's some cool stuff you can
Maybe
do.
not in registered funds, but
Not registered
I don't
funds,
know.
but
I'm not,
cash.
not sure exactly how it works, but that's okay.
And
You
really-
hit the wall, and then you'll want to have some OPM.
For sure.
And I think early on, my dad did help me out with deposits, and I ran into troubles with, I think it was TD or something at one point with the commercial fiveplex.
No,
And again, I just borrowed money from the parents in order to satisfy the loans and paid them out essentially. So technically we've done it. We just haven't had to go outside to other people really.
Yeah.
the
So,
strangers.
OPM
And, yeah.
within your circle.
Yeah, and it was, we were lucky.
That's where you knew.
That's it. Yeah. And we were lucky that I did have a house here in Scarborough that I've owned since 2002 or so, and the fiveplex in Brantford we've had since 2004. So they've given us a little bit of runway
Yeah.
in order to have our own funds, so we haven't been forced down that route. But
Great.
we've run into limitations with RBC because they have some caps on borrowing limits. So
And they're
We're-
one of the toughest lenders, so that's a good sign for your credit. I'd say they're number one. They're the hardest lender.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah. We did one refinance recently, and now they've basically said we're done.
Go
That's
with
it.
Scotia.
Yeah,
Scotia
that's
Bank
what
is
I'm-
next, and then CIBC eventually, and then credit unions, and so
Yeah.
on and so forth.
Just keep going down the line.
Yeah.
That's it.
But down isn't always bad. I mean, some of them have better terms and conditions and things, so it's
Yeah.
not all bad.
It's not always the interest rate that's the most important.
No, I don't care. Like, the interest rate is, yeah, it's important, but it's, yeah, really not number one.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, but when you hit those stages, you're almost hitting not a plateau, but you're hitting a milestone in your buying. So you've exhausted this type of bank. Okay, now you're at Scotia. Once you've exhausted that, you've hit another milestone in your career, essentially, with the property. So yeah, it's
Very
definitely
positive.
You
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
always celebrate every time you hit a wall.
Yes. It's an opportunity for growth.
that's it exactly. Yeah.
So if you guys could start over again, what would you do differently?
oh, that's a good question too.
I would have bought a hell of a lot more in 2004.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
have too.
You would have
That's a-
thought that out, huh?
Yeah, beg, borrow, and steal. Yeah,
And I held him back too for a long time. He was convincing me to buy more and buy more, and I was hesitant and I was afraid of the debt. And I was like, we got to pay down the mortgages.
Yeah,
What am I
that's what
doing?
you
Like,
hear from everybody. So
yeah. So I agree. That's a great point. I would have bought more. I would have house hacked in university.
yeah.
Like if I knew, I 100% would have done that.
Mm.
Can you imagine? Yeah, all that money, and even Toronto properties were way cheaper in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
I remember you could get like condos for in the like 100,000, like 150, 190. Now there's nothing at that price, and
Yeah.
yeah, like and
There's parking spots at that price.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Imagine
Smart
Brantford in that time, like it used to be. We used to live in Hampton in 1999, so we're gonna date ourselves, but you could get houses for 65,000, like right downtown, beautiful red brick homes.
Yes.
London, Ontario, you could get really cheap properties.
Yeah.
It's
Now
not like
it's
that
not
anymore.
like that anymore. No.
Yeah, now if you want cheap properties, you really got to go far.
Yeah.
And way out of your comfort zone and into really risky towns. Stuff that, the northern towns that just don't have
Job.
the market or the industry, but they've got the right prices, but it could be suicide. So
Yeah, yes, you have to be careful. Like when it looks too good to be true, maybe it is too good to be true.
Yes. Well, yeah, but like you
That's
said,
it.
you have to pick your location. It's so important because
Yes.
you have to be able to have renters and renters that are going to pay. So you can't just go to any like little town and just buy properties.
No.
yeah, and you got to start figuring in your expenses of the property managers not being able to go out every once in a while and sanity check what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people that are buying out of province now, and I just don't understand how they're pulling it off. Either you're not going out to see it, or you see a couple pictures and then you're hiring someone over the phone to trust them to manage your places and do the work.
They can speak to it because you guys have
Yeah.
a couple, right?
It's a nightmare. So sometimes it's sheer hell. Sometimes we're like, but there's actually some great opportunities too. So
Yeah.
we're even now buying out of country. So I guess we didn't learn our lesson. It's even further. You can't even go even if I wanted to.
But even out of province right now, you can't even go. Like François actually went to one of our properties that were out of province in December, and now you're not even allowed to do that.
Yeah, you have to
So-
move there
Oh.
or work there. So I can't even.
Wow.
So is that by any chance in New Brunswick?
Yeah.
By any chance, huh?
Yeah, New Brunswick. But we're buying in Michigan as well now.
Yes.
And we're looking at Saskatchewan, Manitoba. And so
Wow.
if you have the power team, it can actually be really good. It's just if
Sure.
you have the wrong people, then it's, it's,
And like you said, you have to be able to go and do a sanity check every now and then and see how things are developing.
So I did go in December. I had to stay within an apartment.
And I'm
but-
sure that we'll be able to do that again, hopefully in the springtime.
Was it one of your own apartments that you stayed in?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to clean it up and do some work, and we didn't have a good contractor back then. Now we found someone. So anyway, it was really worthwhile, but I almost stayed like in an ex-hoarder's apartment for a week. It was a lot of fun. I almost cried when I got there.
But that's a good test, because if you're willing to stay in your own apartment, then that's something you should be able to rent to other people, no problem.
Once cleaned up, it's a nice big place. I'm like, wow, I wouldn't mind renting this place.
After a few days of painting and cleaning, he was like, oh, this isn't so bad.
But I power washed everything. Like, well, not with a...
Yes.
But Dawn Power Wash, if ever you have nasty stains, that stuff does wonders.
Mhm.
I sprayed the whole apartment with it.
So
Oh my
in the early days, I would go into and stay overnight in the apartments because I'd go out on my own and work for the weekend. And I have a little tent that has a bug netting around it.
Cool.
It's a cot that keeps you a foot off the floor.
That's
So I would go and hide in there, and I would stay overnight out there.
wow.
Wow.
That can't-
That's commitment.
Yeah, you really are all in.
Yeah.
I was back then, yeah. My brother would come out, and a friend would come out, and we'd sleep on the floors and work the weekends sometimes when the units got nicer. And yeah.
Oh, Yeah, well, you did the worst, and then you were okay to invite people. Yeah, not easy.
Oh, that's awesome. So your company name is Fornelli Properties. So
Yeah.
if people want to reach out to you guys and maybe invest with you or learn more about what you're doing, how can they contact you?
We are active on Instagram. It's at Fornelli Properties. Also, we're on Facebook. Just search for Fornelli Properties. And our website is www.guessitfornelliproperties.com.
Ooh,
That makes it very easy.
Yeah.
And we're always in Brantford.
yeah.
You live in Scarborough?
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
You guys have to go all the way across Toronto to get to your properties.
But right now there's very little traffic, so I'm sure it's easier than normal times. So
We've gotten used to that calm. Over the years, we've seen the time drag out and get longer and longer. You get a good snowstorm, it could be a 3-hour drive. But
Oh, yes.
yeah, 'cause
typically,
the
you're about
403 doesn't quite, like it ends at the 403 in Hamilton, and then you could go kind of up. So
yeah. So
that
luckily,
helps at all.
yeah, we get out there early enough in the morning on Saturday that we're beating the traffic, and because we do it on weekends, we don't have to worry about the 9 to 5 traffic.
Yeah.
And then coming home, you're so exhausted, it doesn't really matter how long.
It's just relaxing
Yeah.
for me because I sit in the passenger seat.
And you're just like, yeah, I don't have to work anymore.
Yeah.
And then we're not always driving back and forth. Her family does live in Hamilton, so we have
That's
taken we've taken the opportunity and they've been quite gracious over the years to let us stay over on the Saturday nights and many
And
other
feed
nights and
us.
feed us and pamper us. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Nice.
that's
Oh, that's wonderful.
And you're like Spinelli, it sounds a bit Italian, if I'm correct. So yeah. You're well fed then. You love Italian food and wine.
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you so much for
Yes.
coming on and sharing a bit of your story with us. And it's nice to get to know you and find out more about what you do. And
Yeah, we love talking to other couples that invest.
yes, that's why we chose the Mel and Dave program, because they're a couple. So we're like couple, and tends to be like there are others, but mostly couples that work together, and it's just encouraging and
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah,
sure.
agreed. Thanks for having us. I had a great time.
pleasure.
Great.
Good.
So until the next time.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Salud. Cheers. Cheers.
Have a good night, guys.
Happy
You too.
investing.
Yes.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.